dangerous and at times deadly trend. Others think it's government overreach. Let's talk about it with Jacob Rich, policy analyst for the Reason Foundation, Young Voices contributor, live from St. Louis and up late with me on the Final Five. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about vaping because we talk about it on the news side every day. There have been more and more injuries, deaths linked to vaping, although it seems like that comes from illegal black market THC-containing devices. But when it comes to vaping at large, there's still a lot that we don't know about the long-term effects.
Most certainly. And we won't know until history goes forward. However, we do know what is in the vapor. And when we compare the vapor to the carcinogens, the tar that's in cigarettes, it's quite clear, at least from the literature and the academic community standpoint, it's quite clear that e-cigarettes are much healthier than cigarettes. There's probably long-term health outcomes that are not desirable from using e-cigarettes all the time. I know there's a lot of speculation just on nicotine by itself, even if you consume it through a patch or a gum. But, I mean, if every single person in the United States has smoked switch to e-cigarettes, the DMJ says about 6.6 million less people would die prematurely from cigarette-related deaths. So that's quite remarkable.
When you talk about nicotine and we talk about younger users, a lot of focus is on these flavored pods. And I know Juul, which is the most prominent, but certainly not the only manufacturer, has said we're going to pull a lot of these flavored products off the markets because, let's be honest, adults aren't necessarily the ones looking for bubblegum flavored vapes. But the reality is a lot of younger consumers don't have a grasp of what's in the product either, namely the fact they contain nicotine. They go in it for the taste.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that.
Okay.
It is absolutely true that youth who vape use flavors disproportionately. But if you look at just the market trends for Juul, and if you look at the surveys of adults tend to use flavors just as much as children. So whether flavors are more appealing to children than adults, I think that's incredibly debatable. But it is true that children are preferring the flavors just like the adults are.
And I use that talking point there. That was something I pick up from pretty much every politician who's weighed in on it so far, which brings us to the administration and talk that there's this push to put down a ban. And I think my first reaction is, you know, we didn't go this hard in on cigarettes once we learned that how incredibly dangerous they could be. We saw some states try to take some action when it comes to flavored vaping. What about the Trump administration, this idea that, you know, the president said so much, he wants to go through, he wants to ban this because it's about the kids, I guess?
Yeah, it's not quite clear what the Trump administration wants to do. Last week, Axios reported that this week was going to be the week that the FDA was going to announce the ban. Then we heard a lot of reports that it was going to be announced 2 days ago. And then I think they felt a lot of tension from the vaping community, and they've been delaying. It might come out tomorrow, might come out Friday. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to come out. But it is a problem. Over 27% of teens in high school have vaped at least once throughout the month. And that's a legitimate problem. And the FDA is trying to think of ways to tackle that. I just don't think that the flavor ban is going to be necessarily successful. You know, a few years ago when Juul first came out, mango pods were really popular. They were popular among adults and they were popular among kids. And then once those were removed voluntarily by Juul, both kids and adults switched to mint and menthol. So I think what kids use is mostly just the result of what adults are using.
I'll say I thought it would gain critical mass once we saw Duncan Hunter vaping on the floor of the House, which we just showed that video of. We could talk a lot more about this, but we got to cut it off here. Jacob Rich, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And by the way, if you want to see the setup he has from St. Louis, we tweeted out a picture of behind the scenes. I mean, it looks great there. I give you points for creativity. It's the magic of TV. Jacob, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Talk soon.
Back after this.